Again, because that kind of implies something that isn't necessarily true. It also implies that it's going to do something beyond caloric expenditure, and it also further implies that it's going to potentially lead to drastic changes when you're burning fat instead of merely just stating burning more calories before bed. We are back once again in front of the machines, and we're actually, hopefully, I say this every time, but I'm banking on it today, going to make this one slightly shorter because I have waffled beyond comprehension for the last few videos. Obviously, you probably know what's occurring based on the title, but we're going to look at somebody who I've covered briefly many moons ago, and that's GrowWithJo. And this video in particular was sent to me, and I had a look, and I figured, you know what, this would be a good opportunity to speak about something not necessarily workout related, but still fitness related, and that will be explained shortly. Obviously, before we crack on with the video, I'm going to quickly run through the bits and bobs. If at any point you decide you like the video, please let me know you like the video by liking the video. 1,300 likes is the goal, so if we could reach that, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please do consider clicking the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, and maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, drop it down below in the comment section for comment question of the week, and I shall do so. I'm telling you now, this one is a bloody good one, so stay tuned. And obviously, it's hat time. Again, in England, it's, for some reason, crazy, decided it's still going to be summer, which is weird because last year we didn't really have much of a summer. This year is kind of making up for it, and I am struggling. But what's not struggling is my Peppa Pig hat that is significantly too small for my head because it is for kids. Unfortunately, despite how old I like to think I am not a kid. We're going to run through this video bit by bit, and we're going to cover some things that I really want to talk about, largely surrounding not necessarily the workout itself, like I said, but more a couple of bits and bobs on digestion that I haven't spoken about before, and also a couple of bits and bobs surrounding nighttime activity, which is again something I've never spoken about before. And obviously this is a 12-minute fat burn at night workout video. It ties in quite well.
Did you know that working out after you have a meal is amazing for boosting your metabolism, burning calories, and even curbing sugar cravings that often come right after your meal?
See, the thing is, I always find things like this a bit tricky because ultimately when people recommend you do something to boost your metabolism, I'm not saying it does, but it can give like a false sense of hope that doing something will accelerate weight loss. To be frank, it really is as simple as calories in versus calories out. No specific singular workout you do will essentially accelerate that weight loss beyond increasing caloric expenditure, especially not to a notable degree that is something you should probably worry about.
The goal of this workout is not to burn all the calories that you just ate, is to make you feel stronger, feel more accomplished, ending your day with a nice quick workout that gets your sweat on and also gets that fat burn on.
The same sort of thing with this kind of use of it kind of gets a fat burn on, for example. Essentially, you are still expending calories. It is as simple as that. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated or maybe oversold as like a fat burning workout. And another thing that was noted earlier was about digestion. And ultimately, I do think doing some activity after eating can certainly aid digestion. But I don't necessarily think that needs to be a workout as such. I think ultimately just going for a leisurely walk after you eat something can certainly aid and improve digestion. And also, we don't want to do too much activity before bed. Essentially, the way I kind of see it is like an accelerating car. Throughout your day, you're kind of accelerating. If you do a workout or activity relatively close to bed, you are further accelerating, but you need time to decelerate, come back down to cruising. You accelerate too much before bed, you may have trouble sleeping, you may actually sacrifice sleep quality. So many things that come into it. Granted, the workout we're about to see isn't particularly strenuous or intense, but still the consideration of too much activity before bed can negatively impact your sleep. But I try and kind of shift my workout relatively far away from when I'm trying to sleep, so I have that full period of deceleration to kind of level out and cruise, so I'm not going to bed in a almost like a heightened stressed state. Again, not saying that stress is necessarily bad, but if I've come from a workout, I'm probably a little bit sweaty, I'm a little bit worked out. Even if it was a light workout, my stress levels to some extent are probably heightened to a degree, and that, as previously mentioned, is probably not going to do wonders for your sleep. The workout itself is actually fairly basic, and it's kind of good to see because considering this is marketed as a nighttime before bed workout, it's nice to see that the activity isn't overly strenuous. The movements we're going to go through are a bit more catered towards, I would say, ultimately movement, but also caloric expenditure. None of these movements that you're going to see are really too I guess, muscle building heavy. And I'm not saying that Jo is really trying to push the development of muscle or anything or hypertrophy. I'm not stating that at all. I'm not saying that you want to see that at all either. I mean, just stating, like, kind of when I stating what this workout might be better for. And as I've said before, to increase calories burned, you essentially increase movement in a lot of cases. And that's what Jo is doing here. Nothing is high impact, nothing is too particularly stressful on the joints or the body, and nothing is going to leave you feeling like your muscles have gone through an absolute battering of a workout. It is probably preferred if you are going to do these workouts before bed. And I know it's kind of marketed, hello, doggo, didn't see you earlier, that is a cute dog. I respect it. I do rate from Jo that she has stated in the description that this workout is to be done at least an hour before bed and at least half an hour after your last meal, because that kind of aligns well with what I said earlier about not wanting to have your workout window too close to your sleeping window. Half an hour after eating, again, I think that is preference. I think ultimately if you were to go for a walk, you could probably do that pretty quickly after eating because it is very leisurely. Something like this where a bit more movement is involved, you would ideally want to wait a bit longer, half an hour perhaps. It really does depend on how quickly you are digesting your food, but don't feel like you need to do this half an hour later, which is kind of why she stated at least half an hour. I'm not a big fan of the use of like fat burning mode before you drift off to sleep, again, because that kind of implies something that isn't necessarily true. And it also implies that it's going to do something beyond caloric expenditure, and it also further implies that it's going to potentially lead to drastic changes when you are burning fat instead of merely just stating burning more calories before bed. She also speaks about keep exercising every evening with this workout, or you will see fat loss results in as early as 3 weeks, but you have to stay consistent if you want to see lasting results. Ultimately, that comes down to, again, calories in versus calories out. If your caloric intake and your essentially eating throughout those 3 weeks stays exactly the same, and you increase activity by doing this workout every day, then you will likely see some results. But I also think that the expectations need to be managed. Essentially, you've got to ask yourself, which is kind of what I kind of ponder in many of my videos. When you see a workout that is 12 minutes and calorie expenditure focused, you can ask yourself is how many calories do you realistically expect to burn in 12 minutes? I'm not saying that this is purely for caloric expenditure, but when it's marketed as a fat burning workout, it does imply that that is a large goal of it. And the reality is, because it's quite low intensity, low impact, quite a relaxed and chilled workout as it probably should be before bed, especially when looking at aiding digestion, the caloric expenditure is going to be very limited. So I could speculate, again, first numbers that come to my head, I'd say when looking at caloric expenditure anywhere from, let's say, 100 to 200 calories throughout this workout. Be really generous and assume it's 200 calories. Then let's say we do this workout every day for a week. Then we accumulate an additional 1400 calories a week expended without our food changing, which roughly accumulates to a little under half a pound of fat. Because essentially, if you weren't aware, they say a pound of fat roughly equates to about 3,500 calories. So if you were to eat in a 3,500 calorie surplus, you could expect to gain perhaps a pound of fat. If you were to work out in a 3,500 calorie deficit over, let's say, the course of a week, you could expect to potentially lose about a pound of fat in that week. So if you're doing this for 3 weeks, you could expect to lose, let's say, anywhere from a pound to a pound and a half of fat without changing anything else. Will you lose a couple of pounds? Not necessarily, because ultimately it is very much dependent on the individual. Everybody is different. Our metabolisms are different. Our results are going to be different. Everything within ourselves is different and can't necessarily be compared one to another. So essentially that is just a very rough guideline if that is something you focus on and something you care much about. But in reality, is that something you should stress about? Probably not. Because ultimately I do think I don't want anyone ever getting too obsessed with the numbers. Too much focus on calories in versus calories out. Too much focus on this and that. Too much focus on scale weight. Too much focus on weight loss, weight gain. All these bits and bobs has the potential to really kind of suck our happiness away from us. And sometimes lead us feeling a little bit obsessed with the numbers. I tell you so many times before, numbers only tell one part of the story. They also lead us feeling maybe potentially a bit obsessed with our food, which I think can be quite damaging for many people. And you think about obsession of scale numbers and your body weight essentially could also be very damaging to many people. So again, I think it's just very much if I was spitballing random numbers and you kind of wanted an answer regarding what to expect from a workout like this, that's kind of the first thing that came to my mind. Is it 100% accurate? Absolutely not. It's merely just spitballing and speculating based on what I know and kind of what I expect from a workout like this regarding fat loss results, as that is very much what it is intended for based on the title and the description. Does that mean it's something you need to focus on? Absolutely not. We know that we can only burn so many calories during a period of time because we know the human body is exceptionally efficient when it comes to caloric expenditure. If you run 3 miles, which I think is a pretty significant distance, you'd almost be surprised at how few calories that burns. I'd be absolutely panting after 3 miles, like I'd just done multiple rounds of split squats back to back. Again, can't think of anything worse. But for all of that activity, to burn a few hundred calories, you almost, in a lot of cases, expect more. And I think that's what I mean about realistic expectations, is understand how efficient the body is, and understand that movements like this are fantastic for just burning a few extra calories. Fantastic, love that. For a lot of people, a lot of your like daily activity and your daily caloric expenditure requirements will likely not require you to run mass distances, and can ultimately be met, again for most people, by just increasing your step counter, so walking a bit more every day and just moving a bit more every day. And if you want to substitute walking more with a workout like this, all power to you. I fully respect it. Like I said, just be realistic with expectations when it comes to how many calories you should actually expect to burn during this workout. And provided, let's say, fat loss or weight loss is your goal, how much do you realistically expect to lose over how long a period of time? For a lot of people, I think you can really do wonders with your body if you are thinking of not even just weight loss, but for a lot of things, a bit of resistance training, potentially eating a bit less, and potentially moving a bit more. It doesn't need to be much more complicated than that. And if workouts like this help you move a bit more, then I fully support it. And ultimately, if you can do this and come away from it saying, no, this is not impacting my sleep negatively, this is aiding my digestion, and I genuinely enjoy what I'm doing here, this workout makes me happy, and I feel like, actually, you know what, Jo's a great person to follow because she's happy, she's energetic, and I love her workouts, therefore I can remain more consistent with her workouts, then I think you're onto a winner. Especially if you are limited for time. Obviously, this is 12 minutes. A lot of people who are living busy lives due to family, due to work, whatever it may be, sometimes really do struggle to get more than 10 or so minutes in, just because this almost feels like there's not enough hours in the day. And if you are limited for time, I think doing something like this to burn, let's say, an extra couple of hundred calories a day, provided that aligns with your goals, and provided that it doesn't lead you to unhealthy obsessions with weight, calories, and all that kind of stuff, I bloody well support it, is what I'll say. I don't want to waffle too much because I do that so much, and I know a lot of you may find it infuriating at times. I do apologise, but I did want to just give my thoughts and opinions regarding what workouts like this, not just necessarily Jo's workout here, but what workouts like this could potentially be utilised for, what they might be best for, and also just give a few tips and tricks regarding sleep quality, so arguably sleep hygiene, and also digestion, if that's something that tickles your pickle. So the next video, which is going to be on Monday, is going to be another TFNL growth guide series. And I asked on my Instagram story, so if you're not following me on Instagram, please do, about what I should do next. Should I cover the hamstrings? Should I cover the back? And the majority of people, by a fair amount, actually voted for the back, which is surprising. Until then, we obviously need to do what must be done, and we're going to crack on with comment question of the week. Could you make a video, or do you have video recommendations on maintaining muscle or a level of fitness when you don't feel mentally/physically well? Sometimes when I'm on different parts of my cycle, or when I have chronic pain, not something where training would negatively impact my body, I have a hard time working out, but I've already built a lot of muscle and I'm worried that I might lose some of it. And sometimes when the depression hits, I feel like I have no energy physically too. Do you have any tips for those low energy days? How do you manage to work out when you feel unwell? Do you just go lighter? And do you have any recommendations for easy but effective exercises where you don't have to be very strict when it comes to form? Because on those days I would like to do at least something for my muscles and body, but nobody really talks about it. Bloody good question, and we're bloody going to talk about it right now. I think it goes without saying, but I am very sorry to hear that you have been struggling yourself. Again, I kind of preach this a lot in my videos, but if you do ever want somebody to talk to, I am always here. My DMs are always open, and I'm sure the TFNL community would very much welcome you into a discussion if you ever care to share about your mental health, because I do understand how difficult sharing can be, especially when it's a topic so heavily stigmatized such as mental health. Just understand that you are never alone when it comes to these battles and these struggles, and that I think sharing, as you have done in the comment section, takes a tremendous amount of courage and bravery, and I really do respect you for doing so. Please don't bottle things up. I'm not saying you do, just know that if you ever feel like you don't have anyone to talk to, or you don't have a friend to maybe engage with, or just verbalize how you're feeling and maybe vent how you're feeling, know that you have a friend in me. If you ever feel like you do want to message me, please don't hesitate to reach out. We can talk about anything and everything. It doesn't need to be about how you're feeling, but you can certainly verbalize and vent how you are feeling if you want to, or we can maybe talk about things that maybe helped me and my coping strategies, or maybe just things completely irrelevant. Maybe I could send you pictures of my dogs, because sometimes that helps. I've also removed your name from this just in case you weren't comfortable with me publicly sharing the comment on the video. When it comes to like muscle loss over time, it takes a lot longer than you realize to actually lose muscle mass. Multiple studies have been done essentially supporting this, where they said provided you're still active, maybe it's just moving about your day and just living. Some studies suggest that without resistance training, it may take 3 weeks to actually lose muscle mass. Some studies actually suggest it may take up to 4 weeks to lose muscle mass. Please don't worry, you can maintain muscle a lot easier than I think people realize. And if we look any different, that's not because you've lost muscle mass, it's largely just glycogen in the muscle. You haven't had a pump for a while, you haven't worked the muscles for a while, so they just feel a little bit flat. And same with strength, it takes a a lot longer to lose your strength than you might think. Some of us just feel a bit deconditioned to training and almost have to just kind of get familiar with the movements again and back into the groove of things, and suddenly you're back to 100%. So don't worry about that. When it comes to just doing something, all I would say when it comes to doing activity during periods of depression or perhaps periods of your cycle when the pain is flaring up, don't ever feel pressured to do something. You allow days off, you allow weeks off, you allow time off. Sometimes we just need to give our body a chance to rest, and you know what, I think it's perfectly okay to say, you know what, today I don't feel like moving. I don't want to get out of bed. But don't let that consume you forever. If you want to have a bad day where you say, you know what, I'm going to stay in bed today, I fully respect it because I've done it many times myself. But on those days I also turn around and say to myself, you know what, today is not the day, but I'm going to make tomorrow the day. I'm not going to have any expectations or targets. I'm just going to go for a short walk, even if that's 2 minutes. I'm just going to walk to the end of the garden or back, or I'm going to walk down the road or back. And then once I get moving, a lot of times I feel like suddenly I feel a bit better, and maybe I do a little bit more. It's about just kind of giving yourself an opportunity to do something like minor activity, but not expecting too much from yourself. When it comes to workouts you can do at home, get walking first, get moving first. And if you come back after your bit of movement, a bit of activity, and you say, you know what, I could do a bit more, then do something basic, something really light. Maybe some push-ups, maybe some bodyweight squats, maybe some wall sits. Nothing too strenuous, but just something that gets you moving. Just set yourself really small, achievable milestones that encourage you and motivate you to progress even further once you've achieved them. If you set too many goals and set too high expectations for yourself, if you don't achieve them, you may end up feeling worse, and that's not what we want when you're not feeling 100% anyway. Just moving or doing something more than you did the previous day is a huge step in the right direction. If you've gone from being in bed one day to getting out of bed the next, that's a huge step and that's huge progress. If you've gone from getting out of bed to walking down the road and back, that's again huge progress. Just every day, just try and think about doing a little bit more if you can. But understand that progress isn't linear, and sometimes we can't progress every day. Sometimes we may have to go back to bed for a day. The next day, we get up, we go again. Baby steps are still steps. Just chip away at it. And if you are, like I said, struggling with anything, or maybe you just want to talk about something, or maybe you just want to kind of spitball some workout ideas together, or anything along those lines, please don't hesitate to drop me a message and we can certainly talk and hopefully encourage you to get moving if you want to when you aren't feeling like doing so. Just remember that not only do you have my support, you also have the support of the TFNL community, and we're very thankful to have you here. As my favourite poet says, Shane Koizan, every nightmare has a beginning, but every bad day has an end. So understand how you're feeling right now. It will end, even if it doesn't feel like it will end sometimes. That is it. That is the video. If you like the video, please do consider liking the video. 1,300 likes is the goal, so if we reach that, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please do consider clicking the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, and maybe even the bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you two have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, please do consider drop it down below in the comment section for comment question of the week, and I shall do so. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating hopefully less waffle this time, and thank you for tolerating the video.